Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the corporate media, the lies, the many, many lies by the corporate media. Joining me as always, MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Yeah, doing good. We got lots of good stuff to get into here today because Thomas Massie is, completely turning his back on MAGA. Thomas Massie is total fraud, sellout. So we'll get into all of that. He's finally taking a stand for spending, which he had been consistent on that. So we'll talk about what's going on between Trump and Thomas Massie. We'll discuss the 40B election, the special election going on today. It will decide the whether or not the GOP has a 68-person majority or if the Democrats are going to tie it up. We will also be discussing the U.S. Senate election. We got some new candidates in there and giving you guys some updates on what's going on there. And we got some good stuff for the post show as well, so you guys won't want to miss out on that. I see that we got Tucker91, Pamela K. Jones, Napkin8, Cindy Lou, and O'Bannon in the comments. So appreciate all you guys tuning in.
Are you really going to take that side against Massie? Is that what you're going to do?
To an extent. To an extent. I mean, I actually kind of agree with the vote that he's taking. But that said, it's just awfully convenient that he's doing this under Trump and not Biden.
All right. I'm going to put this on here that we're going to be debating here, Trump and Massie. Oh, man, and what's the default to Cassie? Running the dials, as always, Mr. Deep State himself. Dawson, how you doing there, Dawson?
I'm doing good. I know nothing about this Trump-Massie thing, so I'm interested to see what kind of opinion I come out of this with.
All right, I'll be interested, not. Let's get into this right after our sponsors. This is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give my good friend Warren Wessel a call at 612-419-7453. Not only does he sing in the church choir at my church, but he's also a damn good real estate agent and believes the same things you and I believe. And speaking of buying homes, if you are buying a home, you're probably going to finance it home unless you got all that cash. If you got all that cash, I guess why finance it? But if you're going to finance at home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company and give them a chance at financing that home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. That's johngaltmortgage.com. Also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. You know, I never thought of this. If you're building a home, give the good guys at Alpine Cabinetry a chance at building your cabinets. I mean, it all goes together. I guess we're in the home building and buying and selling business here, aren't we?
Real estate show, I guess.
It is. It's like the Minnesota Real Estate Show. All good conservatives that run those groups or those organizations. Okay, let me start. This is going to be a fascinating show, I think, Jesse, because the day starts out. I should have this queued up. Trump goes after Massie on Truth,
And he did again.
Yeah, I saw it again.
Yeah, it was not too long ago.
Do you have that? Happen to have that?
I could put it in the show notes here. Give me a couple minutes.
Okay, because he goes after Massie. That's how I started my morning. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys probably understood. Maybe you understood that there's a. I mean, what are we on? The 800th time where Congress has kicked the can down the road and not actually want to solve our debt problem. So, Massie is kind of standing for fiscal sanity, which really seems absent these days in Washington, D.C. Trump, who, gives me hope that maybe we could start cutting government, especially with Doge. Certainly, if you look at what Elon Musk writes on X, talks about the problems with the national debt. I agree with him 100% that the national debt's a massive problem. And we'll get into why that is. Do we have the truth?
I'm still sending it in here.
And so Trump, in my opinion, has come down on the wrong side of this. He's come down on the side of, we can't solve this problem now. We've got to kick the can down the road again. And quite frankly, I've been following this stuff for well over a decade. It's what got me back into politics was national debt and how we service that debt by creating money out of thin air. And so that got me back into politics, 2012? Yeah, 2012. So 13 years ago. And it's much worse than it was back then. I wrote an article for the Woodbury Bulletin. I think it was like circa 2013. About the problem with then the fiscal cliff, if we went off the fiscal cliff. And if I went back and read that, I'd be just laughing at how manageable those numbers seem today. What's your question, Dawson?
So this this issue that's coming up between Trump and Massie, is this something that people typically run on if they're a politician, like if they're trying to be president? Is it like an issue that, like,
well, this is the thing, is I voted for Trump, and I voted for Trump, even though this is the most important issue to me, I voted for Trump knowing he's bad on this issue. I gotta contend with that.
The A10, Dawson, if you go to line A10, that is the most recent truth that Trump has put out about Thomas Massie, about supposed congressman. He's you calling him Congressman Thomas Massie.
Is this the second one or the first one?
Yeah, this is his newest one here.
Oh, I think we should have done the first one first.
Yeah, this covers the same stuff, though. He said,
Congressman Thomas Massie voted to delay the debt ceiling bill. Very good bill. From the Biden administration to the Trump administration, from September before the election to June after the election, without getting anything for this horrendously stupid move. When the Republicans could have gotten everything they wanted, he additionally... No, what does that even mean? What did Republicans... I'm almost scared sometimes when Republicans get everything they want.
He's talking about under Biden, which, we can talk about that because Thomas
we
Massie
criticized him on the show.
Right. So Thomas Massie supported H.R. 3746, which was a continuing resolution, the thing that Thomas Massie is pretending that he doesn't support continuing resolutions. He's against that. Oh, really? Except under Joe Biden, he was willing to pass it because Thomas Massie, alongside Michelle Fischbach, right, under McCarthy. So Massie, alongside Michelle Fischbach, voted to advance the bill out of the Rules Committee when he was the deciding vote. All 4 Democrats on the committee were voting against the bill, plus 2 Republicans, Chip Roy and Ralph Norman. That means that Thomas Massie was the pivotal vote and could have prevented that continuing resolution from advancing onto the floor. To make matters worse, he then voted for the continuing resolution again on the floor. And that was despite 71 other Republicans who were voting on the floor to oppose it. Matt Gaetz got the Matt Gaetz had the answer. So many of these other Republicans had the right answer, but Thomas Massie was going along with it because he was a loyalist to Kevin McCarthy. And so the bill increased the debt limit, increased spending, and cut future spending. So that means it's not a real cut. That means that they are cutting how quickly they're going to be spending. That doesn't mean they're cutting anything. But Thomas Massie was willing to do that. It was a blank check to Biden, and he pretends like he's this fiscal conservative. Look at him on the Transportation Committee. He's always voting for highways and roads. So this is the libertarian. Give me a break. And also, people expect Trump to owe Thomas Massie a favor. Oh, really? Where was Thomas Massie during the presidential campaign? Nowhere to be seen. He didn't help Trump at all. Now all of a sudden people say, oh, how dare Trump go after him? Where was Thomas Massie to help Trump? I mean, this guy, he didn't even endorse him after the primary election. That tells you everything you need to know about this guy. He is self-centered. He doesn't care about anything but himself, and he's not willing to do what it takes to save America. The continuing resolution isn't going to be how we pull ourselves out of debt. The way we're going to pull ourselves out of debt is going to be through trade deals, tariffs, and the gold card plan.
What? Oh my God, Jesse. I can't even. Everything you're saying is just so crazy.
It's all through negotiation.
Does Andy? Hey, if you want to zoom in, he still has a link. Let's get Andy's take on this too.
As long as it's before the next.
Yeah. We got to cut you by 1:30 because we got someone from Paul Wickstrom's campaign coming up.
But yeah, so I mean, let's go ahead and pull up.
But you're just throwing this stuff out, even the way that you phrase it, which is the same thing Trump's doing. So good job, Trump. Mini Trump. It's just like you gave Biden a blank check. I mean, that was the Republicans pushing it at the time. That was Kevin McCarthy, which, by the way, Massie was wrong on that.
Right, Massie was the one pushing it. Massie was the one who allowed it. Massie was the pivotal vote.
Massie was one of many that were wrong about that issue.
It couldn't have gotten out of the Rules Committee without him. Him and, Michelle Fischbach and these other rhinos. It's because of them.
Right. He was wrong then, but it doesn't mean he's wrong now.
Well, this is a better bill than the continuing resolution that he supported.
How's this a better bill? This is the same thing. This is the problem. It's continuing resolution. It's continuing the Biden budget deficit.
Right.
Which, by the way, is not the Biden budget.
But the big difference...
I just fell for the trick. It's not the Biden budget deficit. It's also Congressional Republicans. They were in charge of the purse.
The biggest difference is that, it's the executive that has, some authority over the purse.
The executive just signs it into law. It's actually Congress.
Right.
We got
all right, yeah. O'Bannon has a $5 Rumberand. Thank you. Says, tariffs will never get you out of debt, Jesse. Remove your head from Trump's ass. Well, I think that you're missing the point on what Trump is actually going to do. I think the negotiation through trade deals is the way. Why is the reason we have debt in the first place? Oh, yeah, it's trade deficits. So the only way to get yourself out of a trade deficit would be a new trade deal. So I think that trade deals and tariffs are exactly the way that we're going to be able to get ourselves out of debt, especially with Mexico. That's a perfect example. What are we, $80 billion in debt with Mexico? There's all kinds of things that we can be doing to negotiate with them, and we've got them on the ropes far more than we are on the ropes for them.
Yeah, but $80 billion is a drop in the bucket compared to what we are in debt with $36 trillion in counting.
You take it out one at a time.
$37 trillion. What is it nowadays? $37 trillion? I stopped counting at like $20 trillion. Let's pull up. Let me know if Andy joins us. Pull up the A1 there, Dawson. This is from Reuters. This is the federal budget deficit. So basically, when you overspend what you take in, you create a deficit. So even though spending might go down, if we take in less revenue because you're irresponsible and give a tax cut when we're still overspending, it counts for something. So we haven't seen a surplus since the Republican 90s Congress with Clinton in charge, right? Clinton actually looks like a fiscal hawk compared to modern day presidents. And then, as we all know, George W. Bush started this trajectory of big deficits. Then Obama took over and massive deficits. Then Trump took over, and he continued to grow the deficits until we hit 2020, which we had the largest on per year deficit of $3 trillion financed through printing money, and then Biden continued this on. You guys see that trend just continues on and on. Pull up the A2, Dawson. This is so I've been following the Peter G. Peterson Foundation for, I don't know, probably well over a decade. It's a great resource on the debt. If you scroll down, you'll see a chart. Keep going. This is, I would just recommend going to Peter G. Peterson Foundation to learn a little bit more. Right there. Stop there. This is the Federal Reserve's portfolio of Treasury bills. This is the problem we always talk about is we finance a good portion of modern day debt. So when the government borrows money, which is what the CR is going to do, when we borrow that money, we go to the printing press, especially as you see in 2020 when it spiked up. That $3 trillion that just came basically out of nowhere to give checks back to American citizens because we didn't have the money was done by running the printing press. And then you could see during the early parts of Biden, it continued on this climb. This is why we had price inflation at the grocery store and at the pump. It was so obvious. It was so obvious. I actually literally wrote about it. Dawson, pull up, let's see here, A6. This is me in March of 2020, and I wrote this at the time. I wrote for Action for Liberty. So March 18th of 2020, I wrote, Trump pushes socialistic program that we should oppose. Trump is preparing the United States for an unprecedented socialistic program that will lead to further economic issues, and we need to speak out against it. According to the AP, Trump asked Congress to speed emergency checks to American citizens in an economic stimulus package that would amount to trillions of dollars. He aims to have the checks in the hands of the people within 2 weeks. There's no question the COVID-19 spread is going to be a major blow to the U.S. and global economies. Millions of Americans will be out of work, leaving those with no savings and who live paycheck to paycheck in a real bad spot. But Trump's program will be more disastrous down the road than good in the immediate term. The government isn't sitting on an extra $1 trillion in cash. In fact, they are running a $1 trillion deficit. By the way, it was only a $1 trillion deficit back then. It's already double that. That's just how quickly this thing gets spiraled out of control. So in order to stimulate the federal government, we would go directly to the printing press like they did in the Great Recession. But there's a difference. When the Fed inflated the money supply in the past, the newly created money went to banks and large institutions, thus creating a rise in asset prices. Trump's proposal would take all the newly created money and inject it right into consumer goods, thus creating inflation in the everyday items we need and depend on it. I mean, geez, I only called it right before it all happened. That's why it happened. It wasn't hard to see this. You don't have to be an economic genius to know when you print more dollars chasing a relatively unchanged amount of goods and services, the goods and services go up in price. That's just like textbook how inflation works. And he leaned right into it. Now, listen, once again, I voted for Trump because even though he's bad on this issue, the Democrats don't offer any solution. They're just as bad. Actually, sometimes they're worse, sometimes they're not. They're just as bad. So that issue, which was the most important issue for me, was basically taken off the table in this last election. And so, what I argued for in that article was instead of just creating money out of thin air and giving it to people, maybe the government should shrink and tax us less. It's a much better scenario. And that's actually how we got out of the Great Depression eventually. We brought troops home from World War II, and our economy, or our government, shrunk tremendously. Where this really comes, where I think the chickens come home to roost, pull up the A3, Dawson. This is also from the Peter G. Peterson Foundation. And this is on spending on interest, which will exceed debt. Scroll down just a little bit right there. You see where it toggles from fiscal year 2025 to fiscal year 2035? Okay, so let's click on 2025. So currently, right there, you can see interest is almost $1 trillion. Okay? So literally it's, defense discretionary spending is $859 billion. It's more than our defense budget. It's more than defense budget. Now go back and scroll to fiscal year 2035. Given the current trajectories, which would include the Republican CR here, interest payment in 10 years should be about almost $2 trillion annualized. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? All right, let's break this down. There's roughly 155 million taxpayers in the United States of America. Because, not everyone pays taxes, and plus there's young kids, too. So there's roughly 155 million taxpayers. So right now, with about $1 trillion, that is $6,000 from you a year just to finance the interest on the debt. I should say, is it the interest and principal? I think it's interest and principal on the debt. So just to keep up the credit card, you are in for about $6,000. And that's going to double in the next decade because it's going to go to nearly $2 trillion. These are real numbers. What do you got, Dawson?
So how is this? I'm doing my best to keep along. I don't pay attention to a lot of this stuff, but what is Massie calling for, and what is Trump against here?
Let's go to the A4. This is CBS breaking down. It's at the 1 minute mark. CBS News breaking down the budget and the fact that both Rand Paul and Thomas Massie. What are we going to argue now? Rand Paul's not a conservative too, right? Is that like
he's a phony too? He backstabbed his dad in 2012 for Mitt Romney. So I mean, we can say what we want about Rand Paul, but he backstabbed his own father.
Go ahead and play it.
So yeah, he's a phony.
At large within the party for months now have been talking about how it's time to start cutting spending, especially at Biden-era levels. The difference, though, is Donald Trump himself, the president, has come out to endorse this continuing resolution and pleading with Republican lawmakers through his Truth Social page, asking them to hold off on these fights, wait until after the stopgap measure is passed through both the House and Senate and makes it to his desk to be signed into law before they start worrying about these fiscal concerns. They believe that now isn't the time for those fights, they being the White House, and deeper conversations could happen more effectively when it comes to budget resolution for the fiscal year 2026. As part of that, we are hearing from Republicans that Speaker Johnson is interested in codifying some of these cuts across the board to these federal departments and agencies as part of that fiscal year 2026 plan.
Okay,
but right
so
now they have.
I mean, this might sound. I guess it might sound all good to people that are paying attention to it for the first time. I've been doing this for a decade. I'm telling you what, this is what they do every time. In fact, it was even, and we played that on the show too, Massie literally calling out, I think it was in the Rules Committee, how this is the same old song and dance. We're going to all have this big thing. And remember, we played on the show, like, oh, we got to leave for Christmas, so we're all going to come and sing Kumbaya eventually and vote for it and kick the can down the road. They keep doing it. That's what a continuing resolution is. It's not passing a new budget, saying we failed at passing a budget. We just need to continue on, and in this case, continue the Biden-level government. Right,
but this is disingenuous. Like like I'm showing here, the Thomas Massie supported the previous continuing resolution. And Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up.
Well, that's not true, but he did one under McCarthy. You are right about that.
That was under Biden.
Right, yeah, but not the previous one. The previous one was like literally in December under Mike Johnson, which we were opposed to that one too.
Well, this is something also I want to bring up. Thomas Massie, the Liberty champion, who did he vote for to be the Speaker of the House over Mike Johnson? He voted for Tom Emmer, globalist rhino Tom Emmer. He voted for the Ukraine-loving Tom Emmer. So we're supposed to believe that Thomas Massie is genuine in wanting fiscal responsibility.
Stop.
But at the same time,
Trump
he votes for
endorsed
Tom Emmer.
Wait, Trump endorsed Emmer. What's your point there?
Not for Speaker.
Well, not for Speaker, but he endorsed Tom Emmer to get reelected.
He put out an anti-endorsement of Tom Emmer for Speaker. So it's pretty clear that Trump knows not to trust Tom Emmer. He's not.
He literally is buddied up with Emmer.
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying?
If you believe the propaganda, I guess.
What
then
propaganda?
Sure.
He had him in a Super Bowl suite.
Yeah, I'm fully aware that he's keeping him close. I'm fully aware of this stuff. You're acting like you're telling me this for the first time. No, I've seen pictures of the two of them together. That doesn't mean that I think that Trump trusts him.
But he literally endorsed him.
Okay, but you go ahead and keep defending Thomas Massie, who tried to give Tom Emmer a promotion. Trump was the one who said, no. This guy doesn't get to be Speaker. While Thomas Massie is the one who is saying that he would prefer Tom Emmer over Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson certainly isn't perfect, but could you imagine what Tom Emmer would be like if he was the Speaker?
Yeah, terrible, by the way, and I agree. And we also criticized Thomas Massie because basically Massie he had no plan to get rid of Speaker Mike Johnson.
That's why he's disingenuous. It's all fake. It's all phony.
I don't know about this one. I think if he's disingenuous, he's right by being on this one. I see a couple great comments.
That's my point too. I'm saying that too, that he's right, but he's disingenuous about it. So I don't care what he has to say. So I'm also against the continuing resolution. I'm just saying that I don't really care what Thomas Massie has to say about it.
Interesting. That is another viewpoint, I guess. That is a fair viewpoint.
I'm a Matt Gaetz guy. Matt Gaetz showed Thomas Massie, hey, this is how you fight. And, speaking of which, let's go ahead and pull up the A9. Because Thomas Massie, when the initial fight was happening over Kevin McCarthy, when Matt Gaetz was getting all of these demands out of Kevin McCarthy, what was Thomas Massie doing? He was saying, I wish I would have been able to join these people in this. I didn't understand what was going on. Apparently, he's too stupid to understand that they were getting concessions out of Kevin McCarthy.
I couldn't stand that.
Let's go ahead and play this.
That was my first time I really went after Thomas Massie.
Hill, where Bob Costa is standing by with Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Bob?
Hey, thanks for joining us again here outside the House of Representatives. I'm here with Congressman Massie of Kentucky. You are a conservative, someone who throughout the years has at times been described as a hardliner, someone who takes a hard line with the leadership. But you've supported McCarthy in this process. I've heard through the grapevine, sometimes you've done it with muted enthusiasm, but you've done it. Why?
Well, what I learned when we fought Boehner 3 times and eventually won and then ended up with Paul Ryan is if you change the person, you haven't really changed the way this place works. And what these 14 who just switched their votes have accomplished is they got some solid reforms to the way this place works. And I'm almost regretting that I wasn't with them. But at first I misunderstood what they were trying to do. I thought they were trying to just throw out one guy to get another guy. No, they really wanted reforms in the government.
All right,
that's it
I don't
right
even
there.
believe him here.
That's good. So,
right, we saw it on this show.
Yeah, he's saying how if you change a person, it doesn't change how it works. Really, why'd you vote for Tom Emmer? Why'd you try to get rid of Mike Johnson with Marjorie Taylor Greene if changing the person doesn't do anything? Actually,
that does make sense then. If changing the person doesn't change anything, might as well let Emmer be the one that goes down with the shipping sink. That was the argument to not vote for Trump. If the Titanic is going to sink, let it be my enemy at the helm. Right. Right.
And, one last thing I want to say on Thomas Massie here is that, people love to say, oh, he's the anti-AIPAC guy. Oh, really? That's interesting to me because he voted alongside every other member for the, quote, condemnation of anti-Semitism and calling on elected officials to identify and educate others on the accomplishments of the Jewish American community. So Thomas Massie, he wants to pretend like he's a tough guy on Israel. This guy ain't tough. This guy's a square. He's a nerd. And he's a disingenuous liar. He wants to pretend like he's a big fiscal conservative. If only he was that way under Biden, then I might believe him.
This is a very nuanced show. I mean, most people would be like, well, the real debate is Trump or Massie. And in this case, I love how Jesse, and I kind of agree with you here, is, don't hold up Massie on this pedestal like he can't do wrong. He's clearly
and Rand
got
Paul, too.
Hypocrisy.
People don't know this, but Rand Paul, he went on Sean Hannity in 2012, and he endorsed Mitt Romney over his own father when Ron Paul was going to the convention. So, I mean, how much more of a dirtbag could you be?
Is that how Ron Paul thinks about it?
I don't know exactly.
I
what Ron
remember
Paul
when this
thinks about it.
happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't like it because we're like Mitt Romney, but I mean, clearly at that point, Mitt Romney was the candidate. The only thing is Ron
Paul was fighting it till the convention. You stick with your dad until the end. I mean, how ridiculous is that he sold out his dad? And, I'm sure his dad isn't going to attack him publicly for it. His dad's a better guy than Ron. I mean, a better guy than Rand. He's not willing to go after his own family, but Rand is. And Rand is willing to do whatever it takes to, help out Mitt Romney.
So has it switched a little bit now to where both of you agree that Massie's takes right now are the correct one, but
his votes are correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, so getting back to that, very good point. And by the way, I'm not going to play the Democrats' response to this because they're so full of shit. I mean, they're essentially going...
It's so expected.
Yeah.
Right, it's typical.
I'll just put it this way. Continuing resolution that the Republicans came up with keeps most of the spending the same. They make, I think it was like $18 billion in cuts to non-defense discretionary, which is a very small part of the budget, by the way. So they make $18 billion in cuts there. Meanwhile, they increase defense spending and some other things. So essentially, it's still going to be a $2 trillion budget deficit, essentially. It's kicking the can down the road. Now, here's the deal. And I've seen people... I just watched a clip by Dan Bongino. Did you know Dan Bongino is still doing a show?
No.
Why is Dan Bongino doing a show? Is he not the deputy FBI director yet? If he is, that seems a little goofy. He's still doing a show. So, we got a comment from Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah, $5 Rumbarant says, Jake, you cannot criticize Massie for being in the vast minority on an island by himself. He's just staying principled, just like Ron Paul and Cruz in the past. Well,
yeah, well, I think
Ted
Jesse
Cruz
did a good job basically describing how he hasn't been consistent. Trump did that too. Like, he votes for all these continuing resolutions. Well, Massie's been the best on this issue, in my opinion, over time. However, we called Massie out for voting for the debt ceiling increase and voting for the CR at the very end of McCarthy's term, right? See, the thing that Massie was doing is he thought he had some kind of deal and he could work with McCarthy. And that's why he was like continuously voting for McCarthy on the House floor. And by the way, at this point, does it matter? Mike Johnson's just equally as bad as McCarthy, like objectively. Like,
yeah, if anything, McCarthy was kind of stronger in certain regards, but also, I would say that if they were asked, a quiz of, their political beliefs, Mike Johnson would be more conservative than Kevin McCarthy. But Kevin McCarthy was obviously just a little bit more practiced with power.
Yeah, so going back to the point here is that what they're doing is they're basically continuing the high level of spending where the Congress should be passing 12 separate bills as a budget. Now, this is where you can't criticize Thomas Massie, who's non-leadership. You have to criticize Republican leadership. Why the hell don't we have these 12 separate bills? Why haven't you guys solved this problem? You've only been in power for more than 2 years. Dan Bongino is acting like Thomas Massie has no plan. Why is it Massie's deal to have a plan? Why doesn't Republican leadership have a plan? Maybe you could excuse Trump for not having a plan because he's been there for a while and he just got inaugurated, a month and a half ago. But what about these congressional Republicans with all their staff? Where the hell is their plan? Why don't they have a plan to have 12 separate bills that actually reduces the budget deficit? Or, I don't know, crazy thought, balances the budget.
Right. And Carla Nelson comments that this is Dan Bongino's last week doing the show. So I guess that explains that.
Well, he's going out on a banger. Jeez, yeah. Dan Bongino. Like, that's your criticism. Massie doesn't have a plan. It's not Massie's job to have a plan here. The plan should be by Republican leadership. And they have no plan. And I would argue they don't care to have a plan because they don't care to solve this issue. And I've seen it enough time, and that's why the show's called The Truth Hurts. It's not Democrats bad, Republicans good. They're both bad on this issue. They both are the reason we are $37 trillion in debt. What do you got, Dawson?
I'm just letting you know that Chris is in.
Chris is in? Okay. I'm going to come back to this issue because I think this thing is so huge. And I do think that's an interesting take you got there, Jesse. I love it. Because that's a fair criticism. Like, I do see a lot of libertarians going, oh, Thomas Massie, how dare you come against Thomas Massie? And quite frankly, it's not the best.
The pearl clutching, and it's just like, what did you expect to have happen when you don't endorse Trump? Trump's going to come after you, and you have it coming. It's one of those things. Thomas Massie had the opportunity to do the right thing all the way until November. But what did he do? He was only concerned about his safe red district in Kentucky. I mean, give me a break. Trump was trying to save America, and Thomas Massie was sitting on the sidelines. Now he has something to say. I don't care.
I so disagree with what you just said there. But okay, we'll get back to that in just a minute. Let's talk about the House District 40B race. This is a race that's going on today. Today is a special election. This is for, how do I put this? The artificially created majority that's needed to actually pass bills, because apparently Republican establishment thinks you can't pass bills even though you have 67 to 66. So they believe they need 68. Needless to say, I think they're wrong in that. We said that multiple times. It still would be great to pull off a victory today, in my opinion, in House District 40B, which is actually this district. So I'm actually one of the guys that gets the ads. Joining us is someone that's working tirelessly on the campaign. Chris, can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, sir. You guys hear me too?
Oh, look at that. What now? That's look at that Army personnel carrier. Is that what I'm seeing in the background?
Buddy. This is a new pickup here in CD4. We've established this as our little transportation vehicle. So
nice.
Staying in line with Army boys. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Chris, are you the one that's driving that around? I've driven by you a couple times. If it's you.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Could
of course
be.
I am. I wouldn't
Yep,
let anybody
cool.
else. You don't trust anybody else with a 22,000-pound vehicle?
Yep. Nice.
Now, most people probably don't know this. Chris and I actually were in Iraq together. So how long did you serve in the military?
Just under 10. Came in pretty early there, and then our time in Iraq was kind of the entrance to +2, as they say. So, yep, just under a decade there. Cybersecurity, signal boy. So that was really good. We knew each other, of course, but didn't work together directly. But small world, right?
Probably when I had some messed up things I needed you to solve. I'm guessing that's when an infantry officer like me would have came over and saw you.
Yep. Hey, can you make this thing on my computer go away? Gotcha there, boss.
Well, okay, so 40B, which is Roseville. So first of all, the thing that I like about Paul Wickstrom is he decided to challenge in court the residency of the guy that beat him in the November election. This guy should never been on the ballot, right? He didn't live in the district.
Correct.
And in this case, he was challenging he first challenged that.
Really.
Then he challenged Tim Walz illegally calling a special election much earlier. Tim Walz actually wanted to adjudicate this back in January, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Wickstrom actually was in court again. But the initial one was, this guy doesn't have residency in the district. He should not be able to be placed as a representative. And so Curtis Johnson literally won a November election, but never served as a state representative because he was running illegally. By the way, I would call that election fraud. What would you call that?
I mean, that, and then he resigned. Have you ever resigned from a position to which you have not earned? Well, he earned it technically,
or
but
didn't hold.
You're not eligible. Yeah, you're not eligible to have.
Right.
And they didn't. He resigned before the whole fake swearing in ceremony from the DFL. So they were trying to pull a hat trick, and we stopped them. That's just how it works. When you get a sharp team, when you have the support of the right groups, you can actually go back and use the courts in a positive way, the way they're intended to be, to try to solve problems. And that's how we broke the trifecta. Like our team, and it's literally myself and 3 others doing this investigation, we broke the trifecta by just doing that. Short term, long term, don't care. We did it, So we're very proud of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically on election night, it was tied, although the Republicans screwed up and they could have actually challenged Brad Tapke's seat. So this is the one opportunity where Republicans could take the lead. This is not a great district. This is a district that's 65-35 Democrats, and I'll get into the charts in a little bit. But make the case on why Paul could win today and what people could do.
Yeah, and that's incredible. First and foremost, obviously, vote, bring 50 of your best friends. We've ran the numbers. We've done precinct strategy. We are confident. We're still, we know what we're up against. We're not fooling ourselves. But the way that we view this as a campaign is stick to the issues. I was out door knocking yesterday with weather like this. My God, we've been putting down miles every day. We've gone to many, many disenfranchised Democrat households where they are tired of being railroaded. They're tired of being told by their union thugs. They're tired of being told, you have to vote this way or else. And then they're voting for tampons in the bathroom. Like your average guy that's been doing plumbing or HVAC for 35 years and has just go along with it, even that guy will say, no. And that's what we're finding here. Now, when they find out about the fraud of Curtis Johnson, which obviously has been everywhere, you guys have covered it, everybody's covered it, we're grateful for that. They feel gypped. They feel like their voice no longer matters, to the point where they won't even run somebody that lives not 2.5 miles out of the district, but lives here. So they're very disenfranchised. When Paul talks specifically about affordability, maybe our fourth graders should be able to read as good as Alabama fourth graders and not spend 6 times as much. Maybe we should have graduation rates that coincide with college preparation, which it's like 90% graduation, which, hey, we're all excited about, but only 50% are actually able to enter college because of their testing skills. When we hammer those messages, it doesn't matter what party you're in. Like, at the end of the day, that affects your kids and your grandkids, and they are very receptive to our message.
Are you saying that education is the biggest issue that you guys have focused in on?
Not necessarily. The affordability, I think, is the biggest one. I mean, come on, $7 for a dozen eggs. We're the state of farmers. I mean, that resonates with everybody. The affordability is the biggest one. State and local issues that we hear, we haven't heard anybody from, and we've gotten to some pretty light blue and dark blue houses. Not one has said, "Well, I feel like my LGBTQ rights are being trampled." Not one, and yet that's what they run Gottfried on.
Yeah,
is 100%.
Right. No, I'm still trying. I'm confused with what David Gottfried is. He says he's what does he say he is?
He's bisexual.
Pansexual?
No, that's his wife. His wife is pansexual.
His wife's pansexual.
Yep. He is bisexual. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll tease on that all day.
Well, hold on. Is he bisexual because his wife goes in and out of sexuality? Like, I don't even understand. What the hell's going on here? The LGBT thing is the hardest thing to track sometimes.
I know. I can't tell. Time of the day, pronouns change. I mean, we actually go back to the reality of what does resonate with the Democrats is the guy's lived here for 13 months. So don't tell me he grew up here. He was a New York City liberal, following all the thespian world for a decade, being a waiter, which I don't know if you guys saw that latest tweet from him. He equates slavery to not getting tips as a waiter.
Right.
Yeah.
In his own words. I mean, bro, come on, So those things have been resonating. We're not spending too much time talking trash outside of nice things like this on the street, at the door knocking, where you're right. We've been cruising around a lot. It's been the affordability. It's been the, hey, look, I've been here for almost 30 years. My kids have gone through the system. My family's gone through the system. We all know the deficit's coming up here. We're going to have, what is it, guys, $6 billion additional deficit besides the $18 billion that they already blew, because that's gone.
Right.
That hits people because, especially now that they're going to be pushing stuff down to the counties more. Well, Ramsey County's not going to have a choice. What are they going to do? They're going to tax you even more. So for the old elderly couple, mid the 60s or early 70s sometimes, living off of a fixed income, doing well, don't get me wrong, they got their kids through college and all that, their property taxes are now going to double, upwards of double in some estimates. So that resonates with people. And Paul's just very humble about it. He says, look, I'm not asking for you to vote for me for my party. I'm not asking you to vote for me for my name or the fact that we took down, an illegitimate candidate. I'm asking you to vote for yourself. And here's what I'm going to uphold. And obviously it's all on our website too, at wickstromforhouse.com. So it's resonating more as long as you keep it local and simple. They bring up Trump. Hey, look, Trump has zero effect on Roseville or Shoreview, to be honest. There might be some effect, but it doesn't, because like you said, it's 65-35 district. So how much does Big Trump have anything to do with Roseville or Shoreview when, tampons in boys' bathrooms and all those types of things? So we're getting good reception for people. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, so this is a district in Roseville, so if people live in Roseville, they've got until 8 o'clock tonight to vote, and they can bring up to 50 friends, you say?
I mean, I got a big truck. I can put about 22 in here. Not sure how legal that is. But,
it is a personnel carrier.
It is a personnel carrier. It's about 5 foot tall to climb in. I got a ladder. We'll do what we got to do for folks. But I mean, truthfully, yeah, people are welcome to come out. They're at their normal polling stations. Everybody knows how to get to the Secretary of State website. That's where they're at. There are some organizations out there doing group rides from like University Northwestern. Those students have pulled through. They're rock solid Christian children and young adults. And I know that they're going out in droves. I believe that we've gotten some good numbers. I'll give you one little anecdote on the way out here, depending on what your guys' schedule is. one of our more active volunteers went out and voted very proudly this morning about 8:30, 9 o'clock, called back into the team and said they were TV 45 was outside, trying to do some interviews. And the gal asked her questions, and then the volunteer, answered them. And then after that, they kind of said, so did I answer this the way that you guys were kind of hoping for? And the gal said, oh, yeah, absolutely. Except we've been looking for a Gottfried voter. And we've had a half a dozen, and they were all Paul voters. So that was in Shortview. So, I mean, take it for what it is. It's anecdotal, but, it's motivating. But again, we're not fooling ourselves either. This is one battle in a much larger war here in Minnesota. To be innovative, to be collaborative across these teams where you and I, we all know there's been a lot of silos that we got to break in this state for conservatives. And then to also just use technology, for God's sake. Like, I know spreadsheets are tough, but let's try using technology to our advantage, because that's what the Democrats are doing. So yeah, that's really my whole pitch on it, Jake.
Well, thanks for taking 10 minutes out of your schedule. I know you guys are busy today, and we wanted an update from the campaign trail. Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. Talk soon.
Definitely. Bye-bye. All right, so I want to get into
and one quick correction. I just noticed on David Gottfried's website, I want to make sure we get this correct. He is bisexual and pansexual. He's both. He's bi/pan. So
pull it up. What does that mean? By the way, someone sent me a meme today, and honestly, you would think this is a joke, but nowadays I wonder if it's true. It says, "Take 2. I divorced my lesbian wife for cheating. Now he's transitioned, and we've remarried as husband and wife." I don't know if that's
go to Vision,
fake.
Dawson, and it's in the LGBTQ one. Yeah,
IA plus. Don't forget about the 2 spirits.
Yeah, my coming out story is bi/pansexual, so he's both.
That's redundant even from a woke standpoint too.
Oh, but you have to be redundant to be super woke. Just goes crazy these days. So, and we looked this up before. Pansexual means all the above. What is that? What it meant?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what makes it redundant. Because if you're pansexual, that just means that if you find someone attractive, you can date them.
But why is that different than bi?
It includes trannies.
That's what I'm saying. So it would include people who are non-binary. Yeah, people who don't conform to anything.
Oh, so it's not redundant. It's actually reductive, because he's saying he's for more than 3. He's trisexual plus, but then he says he's bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
This is pansexual is all. So he's now limiting it. Those are incongruent.
Yeah. Why
is he boxing himself with only 2 genders? Doesn't make sense. Man, not woke enough for us, apparently. None of this really matters. It just shows you how crazy these people are. All right, so let me throw this at you. Okay, Jesse, I know you and I were kind of discussing this in the pre-show. You don't think there's much chance? I mean, no one, even you heard Chris, thinks it's an outside chance, but he's definitely hopeful.
Well, and like Chris had said, if you look at the previous results in 2024, when it was Curtis Johnson, the guy who didn't actually even live there, running against Paul Wickstrom, it was 65-35. This was a 30-point district. So that means that Republicans have to flip, half of these people to be able to vote for them. So it's just it's kind of an unreasonable district. And, that's why there's certain Republicans out there that are getting people's hopes up for things that aren't necessarily going to bear out into reality. I see all of these representatives and senators pretending like it's 50-50. This isn't a 50-50 district. And for them to pretend like that, when, the point you had made earlier, the 54A race on Brad Tabke was the true fight, because that's a true swing district. And in that case, they could have removed Brad Tabke for the election fraud where 21 ballots were thrown out, but the Republicans caved on that. And instead they say, how about we focus on this Democrat district instead? And to me, it just shows that the rhinos didn't actually want power, and they were willing to cave to the Democrats.
All right, let me tell you a little story. This is from 2016. Dawson, pull up the 50B special election. House District 50B, which was Bloomington area, had a special election in 2016. And if you see in the top, this is how that district normally looked. So this would have been the 2014 election. 50B was a 65-35 district. Xavier Bickett only had 34%, and Ann Linswinski, I haven't heard of that name in a while, won by almost 66%. Okay, very similar. 15,000 total votes in that district. Now this is this would not have been a presidential year, just FYI. So then in the special election, which took place in February of 2016, Chad Anderson, running as a Republican in that same district, won with 51% to 48.5% on the Democrat side. Andrew Carlson lost. Now, Andrew Carlson went on to win that November in the general election. This, to me, is an argument that you could pull it off. What happened here, if you just assume that Republican voters stayed Republican voters and Democrat voters stayed Democrat, if you can see, Republicans bled only 50% of their voters from the previous general election. So they went from 5,251 with Xavier to 2,582 with Chad, whereas in the Democrats bled 76%. They only had 24% of their 10,000 voters show up for that special election. That's what won it. So let's fast forward here to the 40B election, the one we just talked about with Chris. And you can see Curtis Johnson, as you mentioned, won 65 to 34.5%. So you see it's pretty much the same dynamics, just on a pure number standpoint. Obviously, there's a lot more at play here. So won by basically same margin. Now there's more votes in this, almost 16,000 to 8,000, because it was a presidential year, 2024. This was last November. But if you use the same percentages, so if 24% of Democrats showed up in this election and 50% of Republicans showed up in this election for Wickstrom, that's still going to win the election. Now, that's a big what if. I'm just taking simple numbers. There's a lot of dynamics involved. Wickstrom did raise $100,000, and there's other resources. The Democrats, in my opinion, are also spending a lot of money and time and resources. I get David Gottfried commercials on my computer when I'm here in the office. By the way, I don't think these guys realize.
Something tells me if the Democrats were actually worried about David Gottfried losing this election, they would have chosen another candidate. But all of the Democrats dropped out after their endorsing convention. Even even the ones that would be seen as more electable, dropped out of the election following the endorsement. So the Democrats are confident in the fact that they don't think that it matters that they can put up a radical. I mean, look at Brian Curran, look at Finke. They can put up some crazy people and they win. So, in the Democrats' mind, and maybe it's a bad calculation on their part, but, because it could lose a percent here and there. But the Democrats are obviously not nervous about putting up a radical who's willing to, go to the extreme of his agenda. So that's also just something to consider here.
All right, you got a couple links in here. Let's go through these things here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's just go to the B3, Dawson, for this one particular advertisement.
I thought this was interesting.
So, Chris talked about using technology. This is certainly a way to use technology. I'm not sure it's the best use of technology, but let's go ahead and play this video here.
God.
I know. I hate how they don't.
The prize goes to the second place person, not in Minnesota. That's why on March 11, I'm voting for Paul Wickstrom. Redo just isn't fair. Normally, when you cheat...
Yeah, that's it right there. So, wow. I don't even know what to say about that. It's one of those things that you come across and you just go, what am I looking at? And, it doesn't seem to really do any good or bad. It's just kind of odd and unserious.
What do you think? Do you think it works? I mean,
that's the thing in the comments. That's the thing. I don't even know. People have their minds made up. That's most people. Most people are not willing to vote Republican or Democrat. They're going to vote for the party that they belong to. And, especially now, Republicans are even more Republican than they were before, and Democrats are even more Democrat. Following Trump was, the pivotal move to really put people in their camps. And since that point, I don't see a whole lot of Democrats flipping on this one. But I also got the B4, so that was something that Chris had been talking about too, that David Gottfried believes tipping servers at restaurants is racist. So this is something that, let's see, I think it was, I can't remember which party unit posted it, but let's see, some MNGOP party unit. Good, Dawson, that's the B4. It's an interesting insight into who this guy is, and it shows that he is totally woke, and right. He's going to extremist beliefs that things that don't make any sense either. So let's go ahead and play this.
them celebrate a birthday, catering to every whim that they have, helping two of them get engaged. Yes, that happened tonight. And then when I see that, and then they don't want to do the customary 20% gratuity, that makes me feel trod upon. That makes me feel like shit. It's ironically enough, it is me suffering from one of the vestiges of slavery in America, which I suppose is, I guess, appropriate, being that I am a white guy. But the fact of the matter is, when somebody stiffs me or leaves 10% after I have done my damnedest to make sure that they had a great fucking time, I feel used, and honestly makes me feel like fucking shit.
Yeah, so
well, maybe you didn't do a good job. Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
maybe
no,
maybe your attitude needs to be shifted.
Right.
My God.
Yeah.
I don't want that guy handling my food or writing my laws in Minnesota.
Let's see.
Jeez.
John Galt MN says they had to bring out Flanagan and McCollum for the Godfrey door-knocking rally on Sunday, saying that that's a good sign of things.
Yeah, because Flanagan wants to be like, look at me, I'm running for Senate, but I'm also helping out these Lowell races.
Yep, and also continues on. Also, someone made that for the Wickstrom campaign, thought it was funny, retweeted. Well, I guess it. Some people would see it as funny, but most people would look at that and go, "Is this guy serious?"
Well, think about.
There's another. I put another ad in there too. If we want to pull up the B2, this is another one.
Think about this way.
Paul Wickstrom. If anything, if you want to be able to win this district, and you'd figure you'd step up the ads.
No, hold on.
These advertisements are a joke.
No, let me make an argument for that though. Okay. All right, Jesse. This race is won by turning out your people, right? Is it not?
It's not going to be defensible, Jake. With this next one too, it's bad.
I haven't seen this next one. Here's my defense of this. Okay, I have no idea. I saw it and I shared it out too because I was like, this is really interesting. But think about it this way. This comes down to turning out. Like we just showed you the numbers. If Republicans turn out 50% and they only turn out 24%, they win, right? So you got a bunch of Republicans that are tuned out to politics right now. If you saw that ad, maybe, just maybe, you've caught their attention.
He doesn't say he's a Republican in the ad, though. It
that's true.
doesn't say anything along those lines.
You really should be leading into your Republican because you're probably not winning a ton of independent votes. All right, let me see this second ad. Let's see it.
Yeah, this one's about crime. So, yeah, Dawson, go ahead and pull that one up.
Is this AI?
Yes.
AI.
I'm Paul Wickstrom from Minnesota House District 40B. Roseville has the third worst crime to nearby Minnesota cities with a crime rate 143% above the national average. I'm Paul Wickstrom. I need your vote to fully fund law enforcement. We need to protect the community.
So he's got a few different issues of those types of ads, and yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff. Like I remember seeing cartoon kind of versions of things like that, like a decade ago. Like, it feels like the technology is like a decade old, and just a simple video of him saying, I'm going to fund the police, I'm going to protect our streets, I'm going to reduce crime. That's more effective than that thing.
It's bad.
It's a long shot. But I mean, I hope he wins. I mean, it'd be nice to see Republicans actually win in Roseville. It's going to be short-lived, by the way. The general election will go the other way. It just is. It is how it is. There's some realities in politics you have to understand. It's like inside the 694, 494 loop, those will be Democrat districts. It's just every metro district's like this.
Right.
It's just a rare opportunity. Like we showed you in 50B, you can pull off an upset.
Right. I'm with you in the fact that, I hope to see it go that way, but I think Democrats are so built into their own camp, and I think that it's such a Democrat district, and I'm not going to fall for the Republican legislators like Walter Hudson who want to tell us that we're going to win when I really don't think that that's going to be likely. And, I'd rather give people the truth. If I don't think something is going to happen, I'd rather just tell you guys that, so that way you guys aren't excited watching the results tonight, and then all of a sudden they lose by 30 points again. Well, let's just be honest with what it is.
Oh, Razzle Dazzle's onto something. The Muslims in Roseville might not even vote in this. They might not be a traditional Democrat vote here. They don't want to vote for the bisexual, pansexual candidate.
Yeah, if they even know.
It's interesting. That's the thing that the left doesn't want to ever talk about with Islam. They're not very pro-LGBTQ. We talked about that on the show.
That's what needs to happen. That's what Wickstrom needs to do. He needs to make an AI-generated pig saying this guy is a bisexual and I support him, and then Muslim people will be like, oh hell no, I can't do that.
Andy writes, I miss Minnesota. All right, let's go to the Minnesota seat update. So, as most of you guys know, Tina Smith has dropped out. This is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. Hey, he should run. Warren should run for Senate. That'd be good. But if he doesn't run for Senate, you can give him your business if you're buying a home or selling a home. Give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Actually, I'll tell you what. If I was talking about people who I want to run for office, it's the Chermak brothers at John Galt Mortgage Company. Okay? So I've known Tim for 12, 13 years, going back to Ron Paul days. And they're good on the issue of government financing and spending, right? Very good on that issue. But they also finance homes. Go to John Galt Mortgage Company or johngaltmortgage.com. Not johngaltmortgagecompany.com. Maybe they own that too. johngaltmortgage.com. All right, so let's get an update
and also,
here.
one last thing on this 40B thing is that, we have to remember that now, most likely what it's going to be is 67-67. So the House is going to be in a spot where they can only pass things if the uniparty agrees. And that's kind of the stage we were at anyway, because the Republicans caved and wouldn't allow legislation to pass. So now everything is just going to be for the uniparty rather than allowing any kind of conservative measures. So we'll see what the House is able to accomplish at this point. But the Republicans gave up power for a gavel.
Okay, so let's talk about the Senate seat update. Tina Smith is not running again, and so we've got a new name in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it?
Yeah, it's Melissa Lopez Franzen. So, Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up the C1. Alpha News is reporting on this. Former Edina DFL legislator announces U.S. Senate run. She's been a former Senate Majority Leader, and it's definitely going to set up an interesting primary between her and Flanagan. I would have to wonder what kind of issues separate the two. I can't really even think of any off the top of my head of where they would even find differences. Maybe Flanagan is more radical. I'm not even sure. So this is just going to...
She's way more radical.
Yep, and it says she will go to the DFL primary if necessary. So that's going to be an interesting thing to follow as well, the DFL endorsing convention. And, because there's still tons of names out there. Melissa Hortman is talking about it. Steve Simon is talking about it. Ilhan Omar is talking about it. Antifa Keith Ellison's talking about it. So there's lots of Democrats that could get in this thing. And if they're going to be going to a primary, which by the sounds of it, that seems like that's what's going on, then, it's just going to be a very key, important race for people to be following. It's a statewide race, so Republicans have a chance of taking it, especially if the Democrats put up someone who is just not going to be compatible with the voters in Minnesota. And there's another update I want to give people on the U.S. Senate race. Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up the C2 because, we had been talking with Adam Schwarzy about coming on the show. He is a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and at first he was all game. He wanted to come on the show. He was talking big about it, and then all of a sudden, he stops responding to my messages. I ask him, hey, do you want to do a show this week? How about next week? How about Tuesday, Thursday? Pick a day, we'll have you. And he just quit responding. He's a coward. And I wondered why. So, I recently sent him a message. I said, Adam, are you afraid to do the show? You talked about speaking, quote, man to man in a Facebook message to me. Thought it came across odd, almost like a failed intimidation tactic, but we still want to talk with you. Do you not want voters to know that you are a Rhino Nikki Haley campaigner, or is it something else that you're worried about? Dawson, go ahead and scroll down on this screen a little bit. Keep going. We're looking for CD5. All right, go ahead and highlight Adam Schwarzy so people can see that. Adam Schwarzy, who, to my understanding, resides in CD3. What was he doing campaigning for Nikki Haley in CD5? And if this is any kind of indication for his campaign skills, that it's not looking good because Trump crushed her in Minnesota. So, you can see his name along with all of the other rhinos. Julia Coleman, she's another one. Kristen Robbins, she's another one. All the types of people who are looking to get in the U.S. Senate race against Royce White. It's clear that Royce White is the only MAGA candidate that's running in the U.S. Senate right now. And Adam Schwarzy, the fact that he was for Nikki Haley, he is a neocon. So, we asked Royce White, why are you calling Adam Schwarzy a neocon? Has he said anything along those lines? Well, only a neocon would get behind Nikki Haley. What kind of conservative is saying, I want Nikki Haley? And what kind of man is saying that they want Nikki Haley as their president? I mean, this guy is a joke. So Adam Schwarzy, the fact that he's too much of a coward to even come on our show, it shows that he's afraid of facing true conservatives. He's willing to go on other shows, but as soon as he's going to be questioned a little bit, as soon as he's going to be called out for saying, hey, why are you supporting Nikki Haley? Are you a neocon? Do you want the forever wars to continue on and on and on? Well, it certainly sounds like it, because Adam Schwarzy is afraid to talk with us. He's afraid to speak with us man to man. And so we'll just have to see how this race ends up shaking out. But Adam Schwarzy is being exposed completely as a total fraud. He wants to pretend like he's a hardcore conservative. There's not a hardcore conservative in the entire world that supported Nikki Haley over Donald Trump. This is the Trump MAGA Republican Party, and Adam Schwarzy just doesn't fit in.
Yes, doesn't.
Would you still invite him on the show?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, the invitation's still out there. He can respond to my text anytime he wants.
Yeah. This is between him and Jesse. I have no ill will towards the guy. I mean, let's have him on the show. I'd be interested. By the way,
I don't have ill will. I'm just saying that he's a rhino. He's a neocon. And, he's the kind of guy who wants to say, oh, yeah, let's talk man to man. And then when it comes time to talk man to man, he quits responding.
That's a little weird. Yeah.
The guy's a bitch.
It does seem like he's not good.
There's no ill will, but
but he's a little bitch. By the way, speaking of little
he could prove me wrong.
Speaking of little bitches, you see Bernie Sanders had that transgender singer that said, your God has a fat dick or something like that, saying lyrics.
No.
Did you see that? Oh, God. Yeah, it was this rally
Bernie
in
was singing
Wisconsin. What's that?
Bernie was singing that?
Yeah, no, Bernie had a, well, just pull up my Twitter account. Let's see here.
I would honestly give Bernie credit if he did something like that.
Yeah,
That's
go
really
pull,
funny.
here, I'm just going to dump it in the comments here.
Comments.
I'm sorry, the thread. Go to C4, Dawson. This is somebody that performed at Bernie's rally in Wisconsin, where I'm sure he's talking about the great things of a democratic socialism.
Sorry, let me
play from the beginning.
God have a big fat dick, 'cause it feels like he's fucking me. Are his balls filled with lightning? Do they tingle like heaven's keys? Does your God have a big fat dick, 'cause it feels like he's fucking me?
Yeah, that's
There you
ridiculous.
go, Bernie. Good job, Bernie. Congratulations.
That's ridiculous. And you might not know this about the tour that he's doing, the education stuff that he's got going on. The reason why he's going to all of these cities is because there's some progressive organizations that are trying to tell people to organize outside of the Democrat Party. And so, you would think that independent Bernie Sanders would be all on board with progressives organizing outside of the Democrat Party, but no, he is a complete Democrat Party loyalist, and that's why he's going to all of these cities and towns and holding events so that nobody can attend both. He's forcing these leftists to have to choose, and of course they're going to go to the Bernie Sanders rally.
It's kind of surprising. This song is almost as gay as YMCA. That's crazy.
Oh, good one, Dawson. Good one.
Hey,
by the way,
hold on. I want to respond to Phil Cannon saying I called a Navy SEAL a little bitch. Well, is he not afraid to come on the show? Is that not the case? I mean, tell me something that's not true there. So he's obviously afraid to come on, and he doesn't want
alleged Navy SEAL.
Alleged.
No, he doesn't want people to know that he's a Nikki Haley person. Who knows what else he doesn't want people to know about?
Ooh.
He should come on the show in full uniform and everything, and
I'd respect it.
Yeah,
I'd respect it. I'd love to have him come on, but he's not going to. He's weak.
We have breaking news on the Minnesota Senate race. Pull up the C3. Melissa Franson has withdrawn from the race already after this photo emerged. Come on, don't laugh. Pull it up. Well, after they found she did a Nazi salute. She has now withdrawn from the race. This is fake news, by the way, guys. Fake news.
Yeah.
I thought you just messed up the link that you were posting, and I was laughing at you. I was laughing at you, Jake.
Okay. All right.
No, I mean, all these Democrats, you can find all of these Democrats doing the Nazi salute by accident.
Oh, yeah. Did you see the Bill Nye one?
Yeah, I saw Bill Nye doing it, yeah. Yeah.
Do we have the clip?
I don't know. It's out there on the
No, we don't have the clip.
It's carefully cut off real quick. I mean, all this stuff is dumb.
Yeah, and he says,
even the Elon
believe
thing
in
was
the
dumb.
science. He says something about the science, and then he does it. So, yeah.
Even the Elon one was dumb.
Are you still on the side
at least with Elon, it looked really weird how he did it. But he's a weird dude. Like, I think people forget how weird Elon Musk is.
Are you still on the side of that wasn't a Nazi salute?
I mean, I'm on the side. He's not a Nazi salute because Elon Musk is not a Nazi.
Yeah.
Right? So he's not actually doing a Nazi salute. Now, is he on the side of where maybe I'll make the media do something and troll them for like a week? Maybe. But he's not a Nazi. Like, can we at least agree on he's not a Nazi?
Right. It's just 10D chess that he's playing.
Well, I'm sure. Okay, hold on a second. Dawson, did you see all those feminists in whatever country that were all topless that had Hitler mustaches and they were all doing the Nazi salute? These feminists?
That sounds like something French people would do. Is it?
It might have been in France. You seen it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's like these are the people complaining about an accidental Nazi salute. People doing an actual Nazi salute, dressing up as Hitler and pushing for an authoritarian agenda while pretending that the other side are the fascists.
Well, weren't they doing it like with American on their like an American flag on their chest?
Do you think there's a little bit more of a deeper message to?
I think that's what it was. Is like we're America and we're the not. I mean, regardless, so stupid, right? So dumb.
I mean, you said they were topless.
That's the thing. I'm just saying that if Democrats seem to think that an accidental Nazi salute is going to be able to convert all these people to Nazism and it's going to increase the fascism in our country, well, all these feminists doing it on the street would dressed up as Hitler nonetheless. Well, what is that going to do to expand, Nazism?
I've got 2 points. One, I think that the Elon Musk thing, it might have been forbade. It might have just been a dog whistle. That's like kind of the best light that I can put it in. And two, you said that these.
Wait a second.
He's shrinking government.
A second.
Yeah,
a dog whistle, like he's signaling to his people. That's what you're saying. Your argument is that he is a Nazi. Is that what your argument is?
No, I don't think that he's signaling to his people necessarily, but all of the people who follow him that happen to be like just neo-Nazis straight up, they'll look at it and be like,
how many neo-Nazis do you think there are?
That's a really...
how many do you think there are? Because Democrats pretend that half the country is, so how many do you think there are?
I don't think it's half the country. I have a better outlook than a lot of
1%?
smarter outlook.
2%?
Is it half a percent?
I think that any percent is bad.
Well, what is it then?
What point?
How many people do you think there are actual Nazis?
What point are you getting at?
I'm asking. You're pretending like there's he's appealing to some base. I'm asking what this base is. How big is it?
Are you saying are you trying to allude to the fact that there's like no base for him to dog whistle to?
I'm saying it's a small minutia of the population.
Well,
it's a very small amount of people that actually believe that crap. So I'm wondering how many you think it is.
It sounds like he's supportive of these people. Like he's like going to his people.
Not necessarily. So I guess dog whistle might not be. It might mean more than I think it is. To me, it's just like something that people can look at and be like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I like that." And so any of the Nazis that actually exist, any of the neo-Nazis going to those white supremacies, like actual marches, will look at that and be like, see?
And they'll see those women in France marching with, they'll be like, oh, look at that. Good.
We can take over the streets.
Yeah, we're growing.
Yeah, that was my second point. Can you link me that video?
Well, if you just go on YouTube, I'm sure you can find it pretty easily. Just look up feminist Nazis. Yeah.
Well, you said they were topless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we not show that?
Well,
on
no.
our thing?
Just send me the link.
I'll find it. Oh, you don't even want it for the show. You're just saying for your own.
No, trust me, not that impressive. By the way.
Yeah. I mean, if they're friends,
they all got Hitler mustaches.
Yeah, they never find the good ones.
And I think it actually says Hitler instead of like actually being a Sharpie didn't think it literally says Hitler. For a Hitler mustache.
Okay, that's how we're gonna start the post show. I want to throw this thing at you guys. I got a couple things. I got this thing by Jon Stewart. I want to discuss if this is actually a joke. I think it is, but it's hard to tell. I would really love your guys' input. But I want to show you this clip before we go to the post show. This is Crystal Ball from Sagar and Crystal and Sagar and Crystal. Breaking Points. Was it Crystal and Sagar? Breaking Points of Crystal and Sagar. Yeah. I stopped watching the show. And I love Sagar.
Yeah,
but,
I don't watch it either.
Crystal literally thinks, and so does Politico, that Tim Walz got screwed. Really, if the Democrats would just lean hard on Tim Walz, they would win. This is the D2. Let's play this, and then we'll go into the post show. I really want to discuss this. Watch this clip.
Now, Politico has revealed what many of us have long suspected. Tim Walz was sabotaged by an insecure Kamala Harris who didn't want him to outshine her, and by dim-witted, arrogant consultants who thought they knew better about what would resonate than the organic response which had originally greeted Tim Walz and his framing of the race. Now, Politico has...
Let's talk about this. Okay, if you are one of our premium subscribers, you can we'll be live on our post show in just a minute. If you're not, go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on support us on the very top. $8 a month. You help our show out tremendously. Or you could go on to Rumble and click on join. You can be part of our show. I'll be reading your comments live. I got 2 real good discussion points. Very curious, which you guys are part of our show prep. You like that, Brad? You're part of our show prep. So we'll know better what we should be talking about in the future by you guys weighing in on it. But I think you'll be very curious on it. Also, next Tuesday, I'm going to debate a good friend of mine, Carl, who was someone I worked in the Liberty Movement with many, many years ago, who seems to think Trump could do no good.
That one, we have to like form that one up a little bit more than a normal show because we don't want it to get messy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it should be.
Messy
I think
as
it'll
in
be
people talking over each other.
I think he'll be diplomatic on that. But yeah, he's zooming in from New Zealand. He hates Trump so much he fled the country. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea why. Anyhow, he's all over my Facebook comments. So I would love to, have a discussion with Carl. I like Carl a lot, so no agenda here, but I think it'd be a good discussion. Maybe we could talk more about the continuing resolution as well in the post show. You guys can join us. Go to truthhurtsnews.com if you want to sign up and be a part of it. Or I should probably post that link in Rumble in case somebody in Rumble is not watching or is not part of our post show. And make sure also, while I'm thinking of it, hit like and subscribe to our show if you're not. There we go. Got the link in the Rumble forum. Thank you so much to our Rumble rants. I remember O'Bannon had a banger today. Who was the other one? Do you remember? Definitely O'Bannon.
I don't.
And Razzle Dazzle. Thank you, Razzle Dazzle. Long time. One of the OGs of our fan base on this show. We couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you to Rumble, or thank you to Rumble too, I guess. Although we pay you guys, so it is what it is. Thank you to Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. If you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. And thank you to Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. We'll be there in the post show in 1 minute. For everyone else, we'll be back on Thursday. Take care.